Welcome, everybody, to Football Discussion Daily. My name is Joe, here with the co-host,
You.
CGO, or George. Today is the 20th of February, 2026, and we are going to preview there's 10 Premier League fixtures this weekend. I'm going to read off these fixtures. On Saturday, we have Villa versus Leeds. We have the greatest team in England, Brentford, hosting Brighton. We have Chelsea placing Burnley. We have West Ham hosting Bournemouth. We have Manchester City hosting Newcastle. We have Forest versus Liverpool, Palace versus Wolves, Sunderland, Fulham. We have the biggest game of the weekend, Spurs versus Arsenal. And then we have on Monday, Everton versus United. We'll probably focus on on the North London Derby because it's very exciting. But George, what do you think the worst game of the weekend is? The most boring for neutrals? What is your thought?
Um, well, probably I would say maybe which team now? I guess maybe the game between Crystal Palace and Wolves might be the ones people may not really pay too much attention to.
Okay.
Because Wolves, so far as I'm concerned, they will just act as spoilers for any team they are playing against. It's
Yeah.
obvious they will definitely be relegated.
They've done a
So
great job as spoilers for the last month, though. They drew Arsenal, that is throwing a giant wrench in that title race. I'm not sure. I think Crystal Palace is far enough ahead that they will not be dragged into relegation. I kind of agree. I do see some exciting games around non-big teams. I think West Ham hosting Bournemouth. They got to see that as points they can pick up and put pressure on Nottingham Forest on that relegation battle. They're probably more likely to get a result than Nottingham Forest is, who's hosting Liverpool, who have a new and Nottingham Forest have a good manager. I think Sunderland, Fulham, it's kind of exciting. I think you'll see some of these teams who are not really in the race for Europe and not really in the relegation race. Some teams, go to the beach and stop caring. Some teams they use this as an opportunity to really grow without pressure. I think that Fulham is probably a team that will fade throughout the end of the year as they realize they're 100% safe. Sunderland strike me as a very young and hungry team, so we'll see. You also see this is the point of the season. I feel like you start to see teams in basically within 5 or 6 points of relegation start to really fight for their life and show some life that we've seen Wolves do the last couple of weeks. So some exciting games there. George, what about Forest, Liverpool, Chelsea, Burnley, Everton, United? These are the teams chasing that Champions League spot. Aston Villa still is probably closer to the title race than they are the Champions League race. Out of those three, do you anticipate any of those three teams dropping points?
I feel Nottingham Forest playing against Liverpool is going to be a very, very tough game for Liverpool because remember last season, both teams played. I think they played first at Anfield last season, and Nottingham Forest were able to get a one-goal win in that game. And when they
Mm-hmm.
played at the City Ground, it ended in a 1-1 draw. Now, this season, we remember Nottingham Forest went to Anfield and they were able to get a 3-0 victory. Coming to City Ground, now they have a new coach, Victor Pereira. We saw what they did in the Europa League where they played against Fenerbahce. They were able to get a very convincing victory, 3-0 victory against Fenerbahce in Turkey. Turkey is a very difficult place to go and get result. They were able to get that result. So I think they will give Liverpool a very, very tough game. I don't know if Liverpool will be able to defeat Nottingham Forest there at the City Ground, especially with the new coach they have. I'm very skeptical if maybe they will defeat Nottingham Forest. I see
Yeah,
maybe a draw in that game. That's what I feel.
interesting. I think
Yeah.
I think Forest will be tired. I think that we'll see the first 60 minutes a very great game because again I do feel like Forest has underperformed their talent level this season due to chaos and upper management. But I do feel like going to third. It's hard to go to Turkey and win. It's even harder to come back and turn around on Sunday. That's a long flight from England. That's like going from Los Angeles to New York, I'd guess. So I do feel like later in the game, 70th, 80th, 90th minute, Liverpool might take that over. Because Liverpool has fit players and fairly deep bench. I feel like out of those three, I feel like United is the most likely to drop points. Neither Everton nor United played midweek. United is going away to Everton, even though it's only an hour drive or train ride. It is still an away game in the Premier League, and Everton is not slouches, and so I do feel like that is the most likely to be a draw or loss for United. Carrick is going to fall to earth at some point in his managerial career at our United, and I think that'll start this weekend. So I think Liverpool. I think Chelsea at home at Burnley is one of the easiest fixtures in the league this season, and so I feel like they're very unlikely to drop points.
Joe, when it comes to the Premier League, I don't think there is any game that is very easy.
No, there's
The
no
reason
easy
why I'm
games.
saying the reason why I'm saying this is because Burnley, the last two times they visited Stamford Bridge, they got a draw on
Hmm.
two occasions. Chelsea defeated them at the Toughmore ground, and then when they went to Stamford Bridge, Chelsea couldn't defeat them. So we need to be very careful. Teams like this are very dangerous. You need to put in
Yes.
your best. So Chelsea should not underrate Burnley, especially at this stage of the league, because we saw what Burnley did. I think against Tottenham, they went to
Mm-hmm.
Tottenham and Tottenham couldn't defeat them. So they shouldn't
Yeah.
write off Burnley.
Yep.
Burnley is a team you must be very careful with. So
No,
don't
George.
write
George.
them off.
And don't get me wrong, I know every team. There's no result surprises me in the Premier League. Absolutely, I think the players have to go into every game with mentality. We are not players. We're sitting here mentally and just being and talking about what's likely and what's not likely. Of
Yeah.
course, anything can happen, but we as analysts can talk about what is most likely. And I think out of the three games we talked about, that is on paper the
Yes.
least likely to happen, and
Yes.
I'd
Yes.
be
I agree with you.
surprised if that was not a
Yeah.
boring 2-0 win for Chelsea. But Burnley has shown more fight. I'd say this Burnley team is still better than any of the six relegated teams from the last 2 years. They will likely get more points than the last six relegated teams this season, even if they go down. West Ham, I believe, is already on par with like 12 games left, more than the last six relegated teams on points, which is crazy. This is a very strong league this year, and I feel like Burnley will finish with 30 plus points, which is more than, or I mean, closer to 25 or 30 points. And I think the highest of the last 2 years out of the relegated teams was 26. So we'll see. A lot of football left to be played. Maybe this Burnley team loses composure. I've felt Scott Parker has been very poor this season in general, but they have shown some fight.
But
Um,
what do you have to say about the Aston Villa Leeds United game? Remember, Aston Villa played against them at Alland Road. I think that was last year. They got a 2-1 victory. Do you see them still getting victory in this game? Because Leeds United is that team you can't really write off. They know how to surprise teams, especially the top teams sometimes.
Leeds at home can beat absolutely. I think Villa at home is one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league. They're fantastic. Villa, I mean, and they're at home. Leeds is also much worse away than they are at home. I think this game will be a comfortable win for Villa. But again, I'm gonna watch. I'm excited because anything could happen, and there's a lot of talent on this Leeds. There's a lot of fight on this Leeds. Daniel Farke, I felt very weak manager until this season. He's been in this is his third or fourth season in the Premier League, and he did not do well his first 2 or 3 seasons. I think they were both relegations, and done very well this season. I felt getting this team fighting when he things aren't working, he'll change it up. I think he'll. It's a sharp team, and I'm excited to see these teams stay in the Premier League and hopefully grow because they have a great fan base.
So what do you also think about Brentford hosting Brighton? When they met at the Amex Stadium, I think Brighton won 2-1. What do you think will happen? Because Kevin Shade will be back. He has served his 3-match suspension, so he'll be back for this game. What do you think will happen in that game? Do you see Brighton surprising Brentford at home? But because I know
Yeah.
Brentford is in top form now, so I don't know. What's your thought?
I think since January 1st on form, Brentford have been one of the best teams in the league, on par with anybody.
Yes, yes.
I think we outplayed Arsenal. I felt we outplayed Chelsea in a loss. Forest is the one dud, but like we did beat Sunderland. We destroyed Sunderland. We destroyed Everton. I one of those. I think both of those were away. I'd be surprised if we didn't win handily. Just based on form, we've been exceptional, And I do imagine we'll push and finalize in a Europa spot, and this league game is huge. But again, anything can happen because Igor. I mean, our team is great, but there's no Igor Thiago is wonderful too, but he's not going to carry a game or win a game by himself. He's a product of a great structure and a great fit because Brentford is great at analytics. I'm sure he'll continue to grow and do great when he does eventually move to a big club, hopefully after this year. I really hope this team continues to grow and has a chance to make a run in Europe next year, and I'm excited to see. I think that'll be a win. All right, George. North London Derby. There is a new manager at Tottenham. I believe he's temporary.
Yeah.
Arsenal is reeling. They have to at least be scared of City. The lead could be 2 points, 5 points with the game at hand at the end of this weekend. If they drop points and City wins, it'll be a very tight title race. What are your thoughts? It's in Tottenham Stadium. Do you feel that Arsenal is a wounded animal right now?
The issue is that Arsenal have always had they've always had the better of Tottenham, especially at the Tottenham Stadium. I think if my memory serves me right, the last time Tottenham defeated Arsenal at the Tottenham Stadium was 2022. Since then, they've not been able to defeat Arsenal at their home ground. So
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll be able to do that. I think the best they've gotten from home was a draw. I think it ended in a 2-2 draw, one of the seasons after the 2002 victory they got against Arsenal. And with the way Tottenham team is now, you can't be too sure of anything. But having a new coach, sometimes there's a way it motivates player because most players always want to impress a new coach so that maybe they can get more game time. So
Mm-hmm.
that might be the only difference. But if Tottenham will get anything good in this game, it will be a draw. I don't see them defeating this Arsenal team. That's for me. I don't see them defeating Arsenal. The best they
Yeah.
can get is a draw.
I don't see it either, but I also didn't see Wolves getting a result against Arsenal. So again, Premier League, anything can happen. It's the theme of today's messaging. I've always felt Tottenham's problems were with their squad. Um, they gambled on a bunch of young players, similar to Chelsea, and they gambled on a quality of young player that was slightly below, and a price of young player that was slightly below Chelsea, and they hit on a lot less of these players than Chelsea, and a couple they did hit on are hurt. James Madison, I think, is a fantastic player. Hurt. Mickey Van de Ven arguably would be successful. I think he's a player whose highlight reel would make him seem much better than he is. I think in everyday play he does rely on his speed a little bit more than maybe other elite center backs, and it's a crutch that he uses. And um, he's not a bad player, but I think he's kind of overrated. I think this whole Spurs team, yeah, the squad is weak. There's a lot of weaknesses in it. There's a lot of young players who might grow into great players, but are not great players right now. A lot of overpaid players whose reputations I feel like outgrow their actual ability on the field. And I don't. And Arsenal is across the board a very good team with several elite players that we've talked about, like Saka and Rice would walk into almost any team in the world right now, and Gabriel
Yes.
Saliba would as well,
Yeah.
and Raya would walk into most teams in the Premier League. And yeah, I'm not sure if anybody on Tottenham would start on Arsenal right now, George. Do you think that any player on Tottenham would start on Arsenal right now?
Hmm. Maybe Dominic, because if I'm to compare Dominic Solanke to Victor Goyekores, with what we've seen them, the way they've performed this season, I think I'll choose a Dominic Solanke ahead of Victor Goyekores. Victor
Yeah.
Goyekores has not been that impressive since he joined Arsenal. I must be honest with you. The When you look at the stats, when it comes to even having shots on goal and stuff like that, it has not been that good at all. So for me, maybe Dominic Solanke is the only person I feel maybe might start for Arsenal. But for the other players, I don't know if any of them can displace these Arsenal players. I don't know if
Yeah.
you have a different thought on that.
I agree, Solanke, but I mean Solanke might start on Gyökeres. I feel like that says more about Gyökeres as a weakness than it does about Solanke. Solanke is a good, decent finisher. He's not going to carry a mediocre team to good. He's not going to carry a good team to great. Neither is Gyökeres. And you're right. Arsenal also has, in my opinion, for a title-winning team or a team that is at least has the quality to win. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I feel like they have a pretty weak left wing. Ali and Trossard have been the last couple of years the two players who have rotated in there. With sometimes Caviezuz goes out to the wing, but with Tottenham, when healthy, that player is usually Kulusevski or Odegaard. It's really hard to know because this Tottenham team is so hurt. Kulusevski will not start Sunday, but I think in a vacuum, a healthy Kulusevski and possibly a healthy Madison, I think is as good as Odegaard is as well.
Spaz is fantastic. The issue is that Madison is not not fit for the game.
That's
so
what I said. It's so hard to tell with these guys who are hurt all the time. I mean, who are hurt right now. You're right. It is so hard to tell.
So there were reports that the new coach Igor Tudor took the players out for is it lunch or dinner? Do you think this is going to motivate the players or will help them to maybe perform better than they've been performing since the season started?
I think these players will get a kick in the ass and not get relegated. I think for sure. I think that it's really hard to come in the middle of the season and change stuff up and do well, but they do have enough talent that they'll stay in the league, and some other manager will come in and they'll underperform next year. He'll get the boot at some point next year because, again, I feel like fans have much higher expectations than the quality of the squad, and they need to either develop these players or bring in who are young and have talent, or bring in a couple older veterans to help there too. Paulinho, I think, is the type of player they need. One or two more of those guys in the squad to help these young players develop. Right now, there's not a lot of veterans in that squad. So I think there's enough quality to stay in the league, even with all their injuries. And next year, with some of these guys coming back, they'll be in a better position.
So Joe, if you are Mikel Arteta, who would you start between Victor Gyökeres and Gabriel Jesus? And then if you are Igor Tudor, who would you start between Kolo Muani and Dominic Solanke in this game?
The easier question is let's assume the fitness is a non-issue and all these guys are healthy.
Yes.
I would start Solanke. He's just, for me, a little bit more physical, knows the league a little bit better, can hold his own, can bring in more other players into the game. So even if, and young players need to be brought into the game, like Xavi Simons is not a guy who can go 20 minutes without a touch and then all of a sudden score a screamer. He needs to be in the game in order to grow and gain that confidence because he's a young player. And so I think Solanke does a better job of that than
Kolo Muani.
Yeah.
And then for Arsenal, who would you be starting if you had to make the decision?
That's a good question. Because Jesus and Gyökeres are very different players. Jesus is a worse finisher, but probably better at everything else. And Gyökeres is a great finisher, but it hasn't really finished that much this year. I would say Jesus start the game and tell him at 60th minute we're putting on Gyökeres if you don't score, or run your heart out at first, run your balls off for 60 minutes, and we'll put on Gyökeres at the end. That's what I would do. But Arteta is smarter than me, knows his players better than me, and has information that I don't have. So I'll qualify that. George, what about you? Would you which one of those two players would you start?
Well, like you rightly said, when it comes to putting the ball at the back of the net, when the opportunity comes, I feel Gyökeres has that cutting edge over Gabriel Jesus. But one thing I like about Gabriel Jesus, he knows how to create space for himself. He knows how to put himself in scoring positions. That's the advantage he has over Gyökeres, and he understands the way Arsenal plays much better than Gyökeres. So that's the advantage he has. And if you ask me, I would prefer to start such a player because he can create space, create chances for other players. When Gabriel Jesus is very good at doing that. He's somebody who is very creative, more creative than Gyökeres. He's somebody who knows how to run into positions that will put him in scoring. I mean, that will give him that opportunity to have goal scoring opportunities. Gyökeres is still lacking those things. So for me, I will start Gabriel Jesus for this game, if you ask me.
Jesus also drags defenders out of position so that Saka and Odegaard
Yes.
and in the past Havertz, but also um, Odegaard and Eze, I guess this year as well, can get the team in position. I think Arsenal have to start Rice and Zubimendi. That partnership has been great at controlling games. But it should be interesting. I on the field, on paper, there's no reason, even away, Arsenal shouldn't win this handily. I feel like it's a great matchup for them. Uh, but we'll see. That's why they play the games.
What is your
That's why I watch
scoreline for Sunday?
2-0 Arsenal. They've been mentally fading in the last 20 minutes of games, but they will be up for a derby game. They love this type of stuff. What about you?
I think I will predict a 1-1 draw.
All right, so questions as we close out. Number one, what is the worst game of the weekend? Are there any Tottenham players who would make the Arsenal starting 11? What is the best game of the weekend? Who is more likely to drop points, United, Chelsea, or Liverpool in the Champions League spot race? And what is your North London derby prediction? Let us know your thoughts. Excited to talk to you guys tomorrow about the results.